The Goat House is back, recapping NFL Week 15 and giving each NFL team a grade based on their performance in Week 15 here every Monday night with this video. And excited for our Week 16 content, but let's take a look at these grades. Starting with the Thursday night football game between the Rams and the Niners, kind of a boring one just because the lack of scoring, the lack of touchdowns, and the weather obviously was a factor. No touchdowns, actually, 12-6. Felt like the Rams were going to score a couple times. They definitely outplayed the Niners, but obviously couldn't finish drives, and there was some struggles early on. That's where I kind of give the Niners some credit if you're going to give them some. I thought they were really tight in coverage besides a big play in the game. Puka kind of getting downfield, getting loose. That was a massive play in the game. But so I thought that was something the Niners did well. Just shut down the Rams early. They were really tight in coverage for the most part. But other than that, yeah, Purdy was very much off even when it stopped raining. Missing throws, putting too much air under the ball, and then when he needed to do that, he did not do that. So he was definitely off in this game. Obviously, Debo was off, which is a disaster because he's complaining about just not getting the ball enough, and he's dropping the ball. Had to drop what would have been possibly a touchdown. But the Rams did enough in this one. Much different than the Bills game, but they continue to win some football games here at the right time. So this really wasn't overly thrilled with either team here. So C+ for the Rams, C- for the 49ers. Sunday games, the Chiefs win 21-7. Wasn't the most exciting game either. The Chiefs did control this game. They controlled it. I mean, at the start, they went 3 and out. The Browns, fumbled a punt, and then that kind of got the Chiefs going. So the Chiefs didn't do a whole lot in this game. They weren't super efficient on offense, but they did enough, and they controlled this game. The defense made plays. They created turnovers. A couple in the end zone, actually. So wasn't a crazy performance for the Chiefs, but yeah, and I felt like everyone was betting on the Browns just because the Chiefs couldn't cover the spread for the last how many games, but I knew that was a trap. The line, they made the line lower just because of that. It was only at 4, so the Chiefs handled business in this one, but Mahomes goes down at the end of the game. Just felt like they were being extra careful. I'd imagine he's able to go, but we'll see with the flurry of games that are coming up here. We'll see. But the Chiefs for this one, they get a B. They controlled most of this game. weren't overly explosive. The Browns just had nothing going for them. That was really it. Their defense wasn't awful, but they had nothing going for them. Bengals and Titans. Yeah, I mean the Bengals turned the Titans over a ton, which is great for their defense because it's been struggling. They still gave up 27 points. This game was sketchy early for the Bengals. They were a little sloppy on offense despite getting 37 points. So it wasn't that pretty for the Bengals. Even though they scored 37 points, it felt like they were dominating at times. Even Burrow was frustrated at the end of this game. So I gave him a B here. At times looked dominant, but it wasn't super pretty at the same time. A little sloppy at the same time. And the Titans, yeah, they were winning for a little bit. Tyjae Spears stood out, but very sloppy. Levis turning the ball over. Mason Rudolph comes in. They were just turning the ball over like crazy is what they were doing. So and then couldn't stop the big plays from Chase and Higgins and Chase Brown. So D-. Only reason it's not an F is like they were playing pretty well early and they were winning actually for a little bit. And when they were losing and they were in the game still, then it kind of fell apart. Commanders and Saints ended up being a nail biter at the end. The Saints, I like going for the win at the end. It just ran the same play basically 2 times in a row, and it just didn't work that last time. But yeah, I wasn't overly thrilled with the full game from both. Look at both these teams. The first half, you want to give the Commanders an A, and then you want to give the Saints an F. In the second half, you almost want to flip those for the most part there. Commanders looked great early on. They had a flashy touchdown. I thought it was more so McLaurin. Daniels almost falling down, then just whipping the ball. I don't think that was meant for McLaurin. It was in the traffic. McLaurin took it. So I thought that was more him. I know people kind of applauding Daniels. I don't really agree with that. But overall, Daniels played pretty well in the first half. Again, they were running well at Brian Robinson. That kind of flipped in the second half, and the Saints had nothing going in the first half with Jake Haener. It was absolutely terrible. And then Rattler came in, and it was a whole different team. I mean, it changed everything. The better quarterback is elevating the entire team. An assumption, but I think if Rattler plays this whole game, the Saints win, which is kind of a problem for the Commanders. So I wasn't really overly thrilled. Maybe a little fortunate to win that game, even though they were winning the whole game. Give them a C+. We'll give the Saints a C. What would have been if Rattler was in from the start? We'll be wondering that. Ravens and Giants, an A for the Ravens. We'll give the Giants an F+, just because early in this game it looked a little sketchy. Like, what did the Ravens turn it over right away? And it's just like kind of staying close. They're not, The next drive, you thought they were going to go on 4th and inches. They punt it, which I guess you think you can win. You beat this team as long as you don't make any mistakes, so that would be a mistake, if they don't get the first down there. So I guess I understand it, but for a tiny bit, it felt like, what's going on here? But then they pulled away. The Ravens dominate this game. You thought they would have got the running game going a little. I mean, not that it didn't get going, but a little bit more. The Giants, again, stuck around very early, and they had Neighbors kind of going in this game, so I gave them an F+, excuse me. But honestly, this is the Ravens get an A for this game. It wasn't perfect, like A+ perfect. It was kind of close. You dominated your opponent, but I do think this is an A+ for the future of this year. And what I mean by that is they came out and they just threw the ball over the Giants, and we know the Ravens still are a heavy run team, but throughout this year, they've been able to throw the ball. Lamar's having maybe his best season throwing the ball, but the games where they kind of focused on that, or they absolutely had to be a pass-all game or a pass-first team, they've actually lost those games. So kind of getting in here and kind of practicing that and getting that, and not showing a ton on tape, showing some different things, like we're a pass-first team, we're going to pass when we're up, we're going to launch the ball to the end zone. I think that's great to have that on tape, because you got to make teams worry about that in the future, not just the run game of the Ravens, what we're used to. So I think it's an A+ in terms of the outlook of the rest of the season here for the Ravens. So I actually love that outing and how they went about it. Jets and Jags, this was a good game. There's a lot more offense in this game than expected. Disappointing defense. I mean, if you look at those Mac Jones turnovers, especially at the end, that kind of looks bad. But other than that, I mean, both offenses made some big-time plays. This was actually a really fun game. Davante Adams went freaking crazy. I mean, back-to-back weeks, so we're just not expecting him to be that consistent. You almost start to think he kind of took a step down, but no, he was just insane, breaking tackles too, so just making unreal plays. So gave the Jets a B for this one, the Jags a B-. It was, who finished better in this one? That was the Jets. That's that's kind of what decided who won this game. So Brian Thomas Jr. went off for him. He's been a top rookie this year, but going to be climbing the rookie ranks for me after that one. Could be climbing towards the very top once again, where he was for a decent portion of this season. So this was a fun game. Get a B and a B- here. Jets clutch up at the end there. Cowboys and Panthers. This was a surprising one. I mean, we figured it could be a 50-50 game, could go either way, but the Cowboys dominated this game, and the score kind of shows it, but it doesn't show it enough. Like this game, the Cowboys dominated this game more than the score showed. I mean, they had some silly turnovers. They had one where Cooper Rush kind of just dropped the ball, and the Panthers scored a big play right after that. That was really, the Panthers had nothing going for them in this game. Besides that, the Cowboys kind of just hurting themselves, and the Panthers taking advantage like one time. They couldn't block the Cowboys pass rush. Bryce Young just didn't know what to do under pressure. Kind of looked like the early portion of the year, Bryce Young. They got the run game taken away from them. That was supposed to be the big factor. They probably could have ran the ball more early because the game wasn't lost yet, even when it was 17-7, and it's not lost. Run the ball more, so the Cowboys moved the ball very easily on them. They had guys open. Rico Dowdle played well. It's just nothing going for the Panthers. This one is a big, big disappointing outing. And, I think even myself kind of been starting to come around. The Panthers, they've been playing, compared to where they were, because they were playing good teams close, but they were losing. And now looking back on it, it kind of looks stupid. I look stupid. Everyone looks stupid. It's just they lose games. It's what they do. The Panthers lose football games. And when someone gets pressure, on them, they don't really have much of a passing game again. So I like Dave Canales. I like Bryce Young's strides. I still have some questions, but are we back to worrying about the future of the Panthers here after a game like this that was supposed to be winnable at home? Just completely embarrassed. Cowboys very much impressed. A little sloppy, otherwise A+. Texans and Dolphins, a little bit more of a defensive game than expected. I mean, teams move the ball here and there. You thought there would have been more scoring drives, that there end up being no points in those drives, obviously, but the Texans pass rush got after Tua. I thought they would have sacked him a little bit more, but they caused some issues, forced throws, just big time plays. Obviously, Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson, a monster duo for the Texans. You wish they could have moved the ball a little bit more. They kind of relied on their defense making plays with the pressure, and Stingley with the 3 interceptions, 2 by Stingley, making big time plays. So the offense, was a little bit of a letdown this game, so I give them a B-. Letting the Dolphins hang around a game they shouldn't hang around, but I love that Texans defense, what they're capable of. The offense, we know they're capable of much more. We'll see if they put that together before the playoffs. And the Dolphins, they were actually in this game, even though I didn't really feel like they had business being in this game, and they kind of wait till the end, the very end of the third quarter, the fourth quarter, to start to move the ball, kind of like last week against the Jets. So that's obviously not great. Tua had 3 turnovers. 2 of those interceptions were bad. The last one was a little bit underthrown, but Tyreek Hill had it in his hands, and he just kind of lost it. So haven't been thrilled with him this year. So that the Dolphins had, teams been moving the ball, the Texans too, and they just had really, and again, they moved the ball a little bit more than the score showed, but just very underwhelming in general for them. The defense played all right. It feels like they can't get the offense and the defense on the same page at the same time, and they're kind of in that situation where they got to win pretty much every game, if not all of them, but 1 or 2. They just dropped a couple in a row, obviously. Well, 2 out of the last 3, I should say. They clutched up against the Jets last week, so they're in a tough situation for sure. How the hell am I supposed to grade the Colts in this one? Because majority of this game, they outplayed the Broncos. The score does not show it, 31-13. Majority of this game, they outplayed the Broncos. So that would say you win the game, right? No, but they don't. But I would say a better grade than a C. But how sloppy they were with the stupid mistakes, and then having Adonai Mitchell throw the ball and just, that pick six, just the mistakes that they had throughout this game, the sloppiness, the bonehead decisions from, play calling and Jonathan Taylor. I mean, the mistakes, you want to give them an F. When you're that sloppy, you want to get an F, but we kind of split the difference there. I mean, they outplayed the Broncos for the majority of this game, and I look at it like this, too. Jonathan Taylor made a dumb, bad, surprisingly bad decision and mistake there, but that was one player on a successful play making that mistake. So that doesn't really take away from the team outplaying the Broncos for the majority of this game, and at the end it was a disaster. It's an assumption. I'm going to assume, even though the score doesn't support that if that doesn't happen, they actually might win this game, because they were completely outplaying the Broncos for a portion of this game. So it's a little tough there. The Colts are better than the end result of that game, but I give them a C. And the Broncos give a C+. It's an awesome end to this game, but they got outplayed for most of this game. Bo Nix was brutal in this one, just throwing it right to the defense. That's kind of the Bo Nix we expected. It's kind of the Bo Nix that kind of started the year. So that our team's going to start the game plan for him a little bit more properly. And the Colts don't have the greatest pass defense, by the way. But the Broncos defense clutches up, and they got some help from Jonathan Taylor, and then Adonai Mitchell, but they clutch up, they make plays, they were the more dominant team, especially down the stretch in the fourth quarter. But it wasn't the prettiest outing for them. We're going to give them a C+. So the score and what actually happened in the game really were 2 different stories here, but a C+ for the Broncos, a C for the Colts. A wild one for the Bills, a big one for the Bills here, winning 48-42. Now, I think this was a little more one-sided than the score will show. I know the Lions still had an opportunity. They still had a chance in this game. If they would have got the onside kick, the chances were on their side, but they were still in the game, I suppose. They would have been even more possibly in the game if it wasn't for that stupid onside kick decision. They had some stupid clock management moments as well. Just don't get the onside. 10 minutes left. You're very much in the game, and you have to announce these days that you're kicking it onside. That if it was a surprise, that's one thing. I still wouldn't have done it, but I do think you look at the Bills. Why they don't get an A+. The defense still gave up a lot of points. The Lions the Lions would get in the red zone very, very easily. But you look at some really big moments in this game right in the beginning. The Bills winning on defense, getting pressure on Goff, getting sacks, forcing them to punt, and the Bills executing on offense. That was the difference in this game. So the defense, and they had that fumble. That end up, it was around midfield, so that was pretty big. Obviously, that forced fumble that they had on the Lions offense, but they had big plays. So I do think, even though the defense slipped up, they still had big plays, and they got the game kind of going there. So that was the difference. And the Lions were kind of just playing keep up. It felt like an ass beating for a little bit, and they're kind of getting back in it. So it was kind of like the Bills-Rams game last week, where the Bills kind of got screwed at moments, and they kind of came back, but they were trying to play keep up, and the Rams were outplaying them. So similar situation there. Bills offense, Josh Allen, just unstoppable. I love the 3 backs they have. They're all phenomenal pass catchers. I mean, Tyler Johnson was awesome in this game. James Cook obviously was awesome too, but Ray Davis could play. So this was much needed for the Buffalo Bills in Detroit. And the Lions injuries, I mean, I don't even know what to call that. There's guys dropping like flies. And I said that in a video going into the week. If all these guys come back and play, it feels like they're rushing it back. That's kind of the Lions mentality, and I respect the hell out of it. We're going to go full go. If you can play, you're going to play, and we're going to try to beat the shit out of everybody for 4 quarters. We're going to run up the score at the end, not risk any comeback. I love that. I love it. But when that philosophy building that kind of culture, that's like the one downside. It is, yeah, guys kind of getting rushed back or guys going full go throughout the year, kind of getting worn down a little earlier. I mean, look at the Jags game. Was it necessary to have all these guys into the end? Look at several games like that. And that is kind of the downside. A lot of these guys had previous injuries, and if you play the game, that you know that your focus is on that. It creates other injuries or a re-injury. You can overcompensate. It creates another injury, or again re-aggravate the same injury. So this is where what we respect the most about the Lions and Dan Campbell, it backfires a little bit, and it's just and a lot of it's just being unlucky too. Maybe some of it doesn't have to do with that, but it's just very unfortunate because there is so many damn injuries right now. It's sad. It's frustrating because you want, as just a diehard football fan, you want everybody to be at their best, so we know who actually the best actually is. So it's really a shame, but. That offense still is very capable. I know Montgomery went down. It's mainly defense, the injuries. Montgomery went down, but that offense, you pretty much still have to score every time you touch the ball. The Bills kind of did that, but besides a missed field goal, but you still kind of have to do that. So that we have a battle in the NFC North, but the Lions are still very much in play. The injuries obviously don't mean that they're done there. They're still an absolute threat in the NFL, not just the NFC, but they're definitely a shame that how many injuries they have. Eagles and Steelers. The Eagles controlled this game. The Steelers came back a little bit, made it interesting, but Eagles controlled this game. It was a little sloppy, especially early. At times in this game, it's like, are these two teams great? Because we know they're two great teams. I mean, great teams. And there was a little bit of a stretch of this game where it's like, it doesn't really feel like these are two juggernaut teams, even though they're supposed to be. So that's kind of the only knock I have here. But some sloppy turnovers kind of drops the Eagles down to A-, but they controlled this game. I said it going into this game. It's the two best defenses in football right now. The Eagles won that battle. TJ Watt probably was the best defensive player. Hopefully he's okay, but on the field though at the same time. But Steelers had nothing going on offense. They need Pickens back, but still didn't have much going. And the Eagles racked up some production through the air, actually. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, these guys went off. So Steelers corners, as good as the defense has been, like, can these big-time receivers beat them? I think they can. So that's kind of a thing that they put on tape. So that's kind of the bad thing about the Steelers going forward here. But they got a big matchup with the Ravens, who they match up well with coming up here. But an A- for the Eagles, a C for the Steelers. Patriots and Cardinals. The Cardinals needed this. They were on a little bit of a cold streak, obviously. Needed to bounce back, and they did that. The defense was awesome throughout most of this game, and the offense, especially on the ground, did enough. The only flaw here, it's not really a flaw. Yeah, it's a little bit for the team. It's what I said, kind of. I don't know what video. We make so many videos throughout the week. I don't know what video I said it in, but the Cardinals, they know they have to go back to the ground game. They run the ball to win the games, to open up everything else, and that's how they win. They did that, and James Conner went off, and they won the game. But the downside is they're reliant on that, right? They need the run game to be at its best to open everything else up, and that's kind of an issue if you're trying to win your division, if you're trying to make or win in the playoffs. So it's kind of a problem there. So, but they dominated this game. Good job on both sides of the ball. Patriots thought they had a little bit more on offense going for them. I thought Drake May played fine. Interception totally not on him. That was a weird one. Get the guy some help here, but. Yeah, just a disappointing outing. Couldn't stop the run. I was just they didn't convert a third down, if I'm not mistaken. They did not convert a third down. That is a huge thing in football, obviously, in the NFL. So they'll get a D-. That actually might be generous, maybe. But did the Cardinals do a ton of damage to the air? Not really, but good outing, much needed outing for the Cardinals. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, they're getting going at the right time. We kind of felt like that could happen, but the Chargers had the advantage in this game because they usually play good defense, and anyone can throw on the Bucs, it's felt like, and they're missing Winfield, and just wrong. The Bucs dominate this game. It was close for a little bit, but they pulled away. They couldn't stop Mike Evans. And the defense has been playing much better recently. Baker was awesome, obviously. Bucky Irving seems unstoppable. That was an absolute steal by them. But yeah, said Mike Evans was absolutely sensational in this game, and Buccaneers dominating at the right time. It's an easy A+. The Chargers, we kind of been wondering it. We kind of been mentioning it. Is it the case? But now it's the case. They can't play against good teams. They had the easiest schedule. They have an easier schedule kind of coming up. I know they play the Broncos this week, but and the Broncos are almost in the same. But are they that good? How are they when they play good teams? So the Chargers are kind of frauds in a way. It feels like. Even the defense, being as good as it was like a little surprised. But it's like, yeah, look at the offenses they've played for the most part, So then the Bucks beat them up. So Chargers are one of the more disappointing teams like today, like this week, and just recently when they had the big matchups, just kind of failing, just folding under pressure there. So big one for the Bucks. Again, at the right time, that's the key. Packers and Seahawks. This one fell over quickly. I mean, the Packers absolutely dominated this game. The Seahawks have been playing good football, but they play the Cardinals twice out of the last 3 games. The Jets was the other one. So how tested were they really? Packers are a good football team. They come out there and punch them in the mouth. They were way more physical. They are way more physical in this game. I felt like they hit the brakes even a little bit, especially with Geno coming out. So I felt like the Packers even could have won by more. If Geno stayed in the rest of the game, then the Seahawks could. That's why I put the F+. It felt like maybe they had a little bit going. They were connecting with JSN. Charbonnet had some decent moments. Like, if Geno stayed in, could they have been... They wouldn't have won the game, but could they have made it a little bit more of a competitive, maybe? So put an F+ there. Howell had nothing going for that. Offensive line had nothing going. The Packers were getting easy pressure. Mistakes from the Seahawks. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop anything. Jordan Love was on fire in this game. The free play just throws it up for grabs because why not? Tucker Kraft wins that. It just felt like one team was way more physical. One team, it sounds corny, but just wanted it more. It just really felt like that. Packers could do what they want in this game. And they're a little beat up on defense too, and the defense just played very, very well on top of it. So I thought this was a dominating performance by the Green Bay Packers. So I give them an A+ for this one. And pretty disappointing from the Seattle Seahawks. And now we'll see what the situation is with Geno Smith there. Because, getting thrown in is one thing because you get thrown in. And the Packers are blitzing more. They're getting more of a pass rush, than you expected. So it's tough. So a week preparing is a whole different situation. But that did not look good with Sam Howell in there, especially with that offensive line. So worry about that as they're trying to make a playoff push here. The 2 Monday Night Football games, the Vikings win pretty big, 30-12 against the Bears. The only thing keeping the Vikings from being an A+ here, kind of left some points out there, I thought. Jefferson surprisingly dropping the ball, but had some little things like that, just kind of refusing, like taking a while to actually run the ball consistently. The run works, especially in a game like this. So it was odd. They're running hurry up when they're up by a decent amount late. It kind of was working for them still. So defense played very well. Kind of do their thing. Bend, don't break. It really works once the other team is in their territory. It's been working the more recent weeks. So the Bears... Nothing really going for them. Yeah, they would sometimes move the ball in the Vikings territory, but then things were a mess after that. Caleb holding on the ball a little bit too long, and he actually had some opportunities. Missed the touchdown, missed some key throws in this game, but so not his best outing in this one. But yeah, overall the Vikings dominate this one. It stayed a little close for a little bit though. 30-12. You get an A and a D- for these. And this game felt like a battle between 2 not so great teams. I mean, the Falcons definitely won by more than what the score showed, 15-9. It kind of felt like, I should say. But at the end of the day, the Raiders had a shot to win the game with the touchdown in the end. 2 cracks at it. Well, maybe more than 2, but 2 throws to the end zone at the end. The way the Falcons ran the ball and the sloppiness of the Raiders, the not much going for Ritter and the fumble early and the block punt. How do you not win this game big? On top of being, I think I already mentioned it, but being able to run as easy as you did, 125 yards for just Bijan alone. The passing game just wasn't there. Kirk's still not right, it feels like. So just shutting down and not being able to close this game out when it's made for you to close it out. Just not overly impressed. Impressed with the running game. They're getting more pressure on quarterbacks lately. Give them a C+. And the Raiders, very, very sloppy. I mean, there was a portion of this game where, how do they not have more attempts? How do they not have more pass attempts? Because they're sloppy. And the pass defense was solid besides the one meltdown against Drake London early. It was very solid other than that. They couldn't stop the run, but they were in the game at the end, just kind of sticking in it. So I give them a C- there, maybe a little generous. I mean, neither of his teams feel good right now. One team, the Raiders shouldn't be good. The Falcons should be good, so they got to figure things out, but at least they got to win here. But that'll do it for my grades and recap for Week 15. Cannot believe it's about to be Week 16. We got our picks, power rankings, score predictions, a lot more coming. Of course we do. So please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We much appreciate it. It's going to do it. Goodbye.